Welcome to Alex and Annie. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are the real women of vacation rentals. And we are joined today by one of the realest women of vacation rentals, Amy Hinote. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
So excited to have you here. Amy, you are a crusader in the industry. And I say that because you actually just won the Crusader Award, which is amazing, at the Vacation Rental Women's Summit that we all just attended. But there's a lot of people within, our podcast network that might not necessarily know you that are outside of the industry. Can you give a little bit of a history on your background and who you are?
Yeah, I actually started in the industry with a destination marketing company, and ended up taking a job at a property management company who was one of our clients. And so that was way back about 16 years ago now. And so started working with that company and started taking over marketing for a property management company and just kind of fell in love with the industry. So vacation rentals have been my passion since then, and I've been full-time focused on that. I ended up leaving and going to a software company that was purchased by HomeAway. So was at HomeAway for a bit and switched to a startup in Chicago and started VRM Intel, which is a website that provides information and news for the vacation rental industry. And in 2015, I actually started a magazine. So since 2015, we've been running VRMintel.com and the magazine, and we've added events like the Data and Revenue Management Conference and the Women's Summit, along with regional events. So that's kind of where I am and how I got into the space.
Awesome. So much has changed since those early days of when you started the magazine. I remember when we first got a copy of it at our office, we were like, what is this? This is not only is there great content inside, but you can just holding on to that magazine, you can tell it is just a very well put together publication. And ever since then, we look forward to that day when it comes to our office. But
it's a labor of love, for sure.
Yeah.
We can tell you it's very well thought out, and it speaks to your passion for the industry and what you want to provide for the industry, and continuing to push everybody forward through education, through just understanding more about the industry and being more engaged. So again, a big, huge fan of yours, and so proud of all the things that you've accomplished. And then coming off the heels of the women's conference last week, Alex and I've talked about it. You did an amazing job, and I hope that you have patted yourself on the back and your team for what you did for the industry, but for the women in the industry. It was a really great event, and we appreciate what you've done.
I appreciate that. I got a lot out of it too. I mean, I think I went into it as burned out and exhausted as everyone else was too, and I left it thinking, oh my gosh, like I was, just really rejuvenated, maybe not physically, but
yeah.
To really be ready to take on 2022, which is, what's before going into it, I was just thinking like, wow, I don't even know that I want to go into 2022, with the business. And now I'm thinking there's so many things to do.
Yeah.
It was an inspirational event for me. And I think that was contagious. You know what I mean? I think that we all kind of built on that from each other. So I think I got more inspired by everybody else than they did from the event. So
it was amazing. I mean, how many people attended too? I mean, there was close to 350 attendees. Yeah, that's incredible for, the second week in December. I mean, that's pretty good attendance there. And Andy and I were saying the other day, we started conference season on a high note and we ended it on a high note. We started at DARM in Charleston, and that was another, such an awesome event. I mean, that one was unbelievable. And I think especially this year, I feel much more grateful going to these events than I ever have in the past, because we didn't get to go to any last year. So just everyone that we've been to has just been great experience. And I feel like you want to take advantage of every second that you're there. And this one was tough because there was so much to take advantage of that I feel like I had FOMO not getting to do all the things that I wanted to, but we're very excited to see the video recording that you have. And I think people can they get that if they didn't go to the show, or can they purchase
that?
If
you go to vacationrentalwomen.com, the video package is still there. I'll give you a promo code for your show notes too.
Okay, great.
For your audience. But I think that, there are 50 videos there,
wow.
So it's like, it was a lot. And I mean, I think all of us only saw about 10.
Yeah.
Including the general sessions. And, so, I mean, not, and there's no one in the show that even got to see 20% of the
Yeah.
event. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's going to be fine. I kind of like the date. This was a forced date on this because of COVID. This was a
Yeah.
change. And our original dates, they had to cancel, the hotel did.
Mhm.
So it's like, but that week after Thanksgiving, like, it's not terrible.
No, not
I
at all.
realize it's holiday, but it's also a downtime for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you that feeling of wrapping up the year, kind of like what you said, like on a high
Definitely,
note. I get the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, it also gives you that kind of holiday season behind it to catch up on videos. Like, you've got some downtime by the fire,
Yeah.
and some time to really plan for 2022, or to evaluate your plan for 2022.
Right.
And in light of now seeing different opportunities and learning the new things that we learned.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm not, if we do it again, I'm not sure that I'm going to change the date. I really like, I like that festive holiday feeling that we got too, of having it be like, it's almost like an industry holiday party.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the Christmas trees and exchanging ornaments, which I forgot to grab an ornament from the tree, but yeah, I think it's perfect. It's just, it sets you up with a whole decor theme that you don't even have to worry about. So it's perfect.
Right.
That was huge.
That's why I got married at Christmas time. I didn't have to worry about things.
I'm not kidding. If you get a good hotel that like has
Yeah.
really great decorations,
Yeah.
it's funny. We almost booked at the Roosevelt, and
Oh,
how
did
beautiful
you?
that is.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've
That's
been
where
over
we got
there.
amazing pictures.
I wish I had. If it got not pushed back to December, like, you
Yeah.
can't visit venues during December.
Yeah.
It's so
So
funny.
I
I had people commenting on the pictures I was posting and just saying, this looks like the best conference you've ever been to. And I go to a lot of conferences between both Condo World and also my work with the Chamber and CVB. And people literally were like, this is unbelievable. Where are you? It looks so beautiful and just like such a great event. So, and yeah, I think the timing is great. It's right before everybody starts holiday parties. So you've got a little bit of a lull there, but I remember going back, Amy, the first time I met you was 5 years ago in Sandestin, and it was right same time of year. And that was the VRM Intel. It was just a 1-day show, I think. And that was the first industry conference that I had been to. And so didn't really know what that was going to be like going into it, but I know you've had so many technical hurdles over the years at conferences, and bless your heart, you always deal with it with such grace. But I remember that was one that a tornado came through. We were literally in a session about OTAs, and this girl stands up and said, "There's a tornado coming." Everybody's like, "What do we do?" But looking back over the last 5 years since then, I mean, you've hosted so many other events. Where do you see the conference industry going, and what have you seen change over the years?
There's much higher risk in conferences today than there ever has been, and the hotels, they're much, because their revenues have shrunk so much that they are forcing you to fulfill every obligation that you have on the contract.
Right.
These contracts are super expensive. I mean, we're talking about $200K, with the Ritz-Carlton. So I think that, you've got the hotel side not bending, not giving you extra rooms for your people after the cutoff date, not offering, some of the, just not working with you on your, what I mean, to make it work. And then on the other side, you've got the sponsorships, and a lot of people are cutting their business travel, and their desire to sponsor some of these conferences where they don't feel like they have a direct ROI.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fact that the new generation of marketers, they only look at ROI because they can measure it online. So they don't have any value of anything they can't measure immediately.
Right.
They haven't figured out how to go that extra step, Jesus. And then you've got on the other, you've got the attendees, and the attendees don't want to make decisions early. So it's hard to justify and plan for a show that you don't know if it's going to be successful or if it's not until the very last minute. And then you've got all these last minute cancellations from people who thought they were ready to travel and then they really weren't. Yeah. So it's like there's so much risk in the equation now that I'm not sure that we'll see a lot of startup events. Mm-hmm. The ones that are established right now may be able to make it and go forward and build upon that. But as far as starting a brand new event from scratch, I'm not sure I would take on that risk 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if I had had this environment to work in, I don't think I could have started something brand new and, hope to get that kind of recognition so that people would come.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the ROI, Annie and I talked about this in our last episode that, we heard people saying that their company was going to sponsor the event, but decided not to at the end of the day. And they just didn't think that there was that either ROI or there wasn't enough of a sales opportunity to have a booth. And that's just completely the opposite of what Annie and I took away from this event. We felt like we had more conversations with vendors than, or for me, at least as a property manager, than I probably ever have, because they were attending sessions with me and we weren't running all over the place, and we went to dinners, and it was more of a collaborative feel to the event in New Orleans than any conference that I've been to previously. And, it was 350 people. That's a lot of people, but it felt like an intimate event that was more like 100-person kind of type thing, where you still felt like you talked to everybody by the end of it. So that made a big difference, I think.
The relationship, like what makes our relationship unique? I mean, our industry unique is relationships, and we all know it. Yeah. That's why we all love the space so much. This sector it's very different from other types of hospitality, and that you have to have an intimate relationship with the homeowner and with the guests and your employees to make the whole thing work, and with your vendors.
Yeah.
And so it's like making an ecosystem event where everybody's on the same page. Like, all of a sudden now the vendors are going to the same sessions and they're having the same discussions, which means they're learning that their software system needs better reporting, homeowner reporting today, that's more asset management minded. They're learning that channel distribution needs the ability to reorder your photos on Airbnb versus Vrbo, you know what I mean? And change pricing there. I mean, like, and optimize per channel. Yeah. I think another thing that you're learning, like the vendors learn that they need more notifications when things are down. When things aren't working and integrations are not, there's no troubleshooting there unless you find it yourself. So it's like those kind of conversations, they don't happen at a booth.
Right. No. Yeah. No, they don't. They don't.
It removes the barriers that exist when you have booths. It's just, you're not there to prove ROI. You're there to build a relationship when you don't have a booth and go to these sessions with people. So I agree with you 100%. It's
totally true. And I think the women are so much more open because of it at the show. Well, they're more open anyway, because the other barriers aren't there either. Yeah. Mainly like the mind games and things like that we all play.
Yeah.
the patriarchy. It's like, but it's like everything's just so genuine and so sincere that you buy from people
Right.
Absolutely. And you get to know people in a totally different way here, and have those intellectual conversations. And once it's kind of like that thing, they don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
What you find out from a vendor at this show is how much they care. And I think that matters. And can you measure that with is there an ROI on that? If people wanted to take the time to put one on there, I think they probably could.
Yeah.
It's not that immediate ROI.
Relationships aren't supposed to be transactional,
right?
In nature, right? And I think this kind of leads us to, and the next question we wanted to talk about is, things that you can't measure in ROI. One thing that we're seeing in a lot of these newer companies that are coming onto the scene is such less of an emphasis on brand, because branding is definitely something that is harder to track. How do you see branding within vacation rentals as we go into 2022? What has changed as far as the book direct movement and what Airbnb VRBO has brought to the table and changed from a branding perspective?
I think that some of the degradation of branding in our industry is not actually, it's a result of not marketing more than it is a result of what's going on in the industry. Every destination, and the reason vacation rentals did well during COVID is the space and the location. These are drive to, that drive to is where it's been at. People are not getting on planes as much to go places. So like, if you're in Myrtle Beach, you've got your drive to market. If you're in Panama City Beach, you've got your drive to market. That's where your brand needs to be recognized. Yeah. So like if I am in Gulf Shores, Alabama, my brand doesn't need to be in Oregon. That doesn't matter. But or in Birmingham or Atlanta, I need them to know who to call. And so I do think that it matters you can easily build a brand with a drive to location. but people are not marketing right now. Our demand has been so high that it's been too easy just to list your properties on Vrbo and Airbnb and call it a day. And that demand has been there to support it. This business is cyclical, and we all know it is. We've watched it for years. This isn't new information. It's not like you heard it here first.
Breaking news.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But if you are just hearing this for the first time, well,
Yeah, you might be in trouble.
That's who the problem revolves around.
So, I mean, it will turn, and demand is volatile, and the reason you hear from other people, oh no, we're going to be up and we're going to stay up, is because they're selling their investors. That's in their pitch. That's in their
right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm so tired. I almost wish consolidation would just all the way happen so we could stop hearing the bullshit that people are spinning to investors right now.
Yeah.
It's like, the fact is, demand does change. It goes up and it goes down, and there are specific reasons for it. And there's very specific reasons that we expect it to go down next year. But you'll see marketing again then.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, like with the whiplash that happened from COVID, they canceled everything, and then all of a sudden the phone started ringing on one day and everything filled up overnight. It was very difficult to manage. I understand that, honestly, people didn't want to market. You know, it was like, we don't want our phone to ring anymore right now.
Yeah, we can't handle it. Yeah, absolutely.
And so we've seen a real diminishing of marketing education in our industry, which is a little bit concerning for the future. Because going back to your original question, you know, will it just be, can you build a brand going forward? You can, but it takes effort. And if it were me, I'd be working on that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of, so like on that, just the brand, and you kind of touched on it, like, you know, you don't need a brand speaking to customers that are going to Panama City Beach or Myrtle Beach based in Oregon. So like the elephant in the room, Vacasa. You know, what do you think that them going public and trying to have a hotel style global brand, what do you think that means for the industry?
I haven't seen them actually put into a lot of effort towards branding, you know, yet. The investors will want them to. So I think we'll see some increased effort there. I did see my first commercial recently.
I heard about that. I haven't seen it
on
yet.
YouTube.
So there's certain, now that they're public, we'll see a lot more of that Vrbo Airbnb style marketing coming out of them. However, you know, they talk about their selection and the fact that you can go on there and you can find something in every destination. However, their selection in a per destination basis, you know what I mean, isn't enough to warrant that being the only place people search.
Right.
So in looking at the customer funnel, I don't think that they're close enough to the top of the funnel to really be able to disrupt other brands at this point. I think that looking at how they're looking at growing the company, it's a little concerning to me that they don't understand the brand value of the destination.
Right.
That when they go in and they purchase a company that's very involved in building the destination and understands that at Panama City Beach, you compete with Destin, you compete with Fort Walton, you compete with Amelia. I mean, you've got the entire Gulf Coast. You even compete with Gulf Shores and
absolutely
and Alabama.
Yeah.
And I mean, same thing is true for you, Alex, and Myrtle. And it's like, you've got North Myrtle, you've got all the way from Tybee to Outer Banks. And they decide where they want to go on the East Coast, where they want to go in the Gulf Coast, where they want to go in Hawaii, where they want to go on the Oregon coast for that matter. You know what I mean? Like they have choices. So the choice isn't just about which property they're going to pick on Vrbo or Airbnb. The choice is which destination they're going to go to. And this is what's cyclical, is this destinations can go in and out of favor. It takes a lot of intent to keep your destination up.
Yeah.
And when you start losing, it's kind of a domino effect when a destination starts to have problems. Panama City had this several years ago. We saw other destinations grow and, become and really overtake them from a market share standpoint, just because of some bad things that started to happen from the beginning.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, you start losing, a little bit of revenue at spring break because you decide that you're not going to allow alcohol anymore.
Yep.
And then you lose those room days, then you lose that tax revenue, then you lose property managers who are campaigning at the state level from beach renourishment, then your beaches aren't as clean, and you know what I mean? Then the whole
Yeah.
thing starts to domino.
Domino, yeah.
All of a sudden people would rather go to Orange Beach, Alabama than Panama City Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
And then Orange Beach, jumps up, and then they do the same thing. Traffic is another thing, there's traffic patterns, like really making like destinations that really plan around sustainable tourism. And I don't mean sustainable, like don't use plastic bottles in your,
Right.
Yeah. No.
Being able to get around.
Yeah.
Right, a destination
Yeah.
that will continue to be a destination for vacationers for decades and decades. And we're losing every time a Vacasa or one of these consolidated models buys a company, that is a person taken out. That is a leader in the community that is taken out of the equation, who is no longer contributing to the things that you're doing, Alex, at the CVB.
Oh, absolutely.
100. Yeah, absolutely.
And so whatever the CVB comes along and says, we've got research that shows that we should bring a soccer tournament in town. We need some sponsors. There's no sponsor.
They're not part of it.
Because they're not vested in the market. They don't, they're not there.
Exactly. When they say we need a beach renourishment project right now because of the last hurricane ripped out 30 feet of our beach, like that we need to go, and we've got a lobby for that, with the state tourism department, to the state legislature. And those people aren't there to do that.
Well,
And,
here's a question. So, I mean, Vacasa going public now, I mean, I know they've got themselves into this situation, and they've gotten these destinations into this situation because of the trajectory they were on to become public. But now that they are public, what do you think that is going to change? Because, I mean, at some point, yes, they have to be profitable. Are they going to change that mentality, that they're going to look at destinations differently because they do need to support these areas, that's where they're, I mean, if Myrtle Beach, ends up not being a popular tourist destination because 4 of the 5 big companies get sold to a behemoth like that doesn't participate in any of the CVB activities, that their properties aren't going to be making money anymore. So do you think that's going to happen? Are they going to have a realization moment here that they need to be better team players? Or am I just hopeful? I'm trying to put it out into the universe, but
trying to be Pollyanna.
I think it would take a long time, because they're not going to feel it for a minute, and their growth is based on acquiring properties.
Right. Yeah. And
but I thought what was interesting in the interview that I had with Matt on IPO day, and I do appreciate him taking the time to do that.
Definitely.
It was a busy day, and I know that he
Sure,
didn't
was
have
crazy.
with an industry publication, he defined supply as the number of available room nights, not the number of available properties. And I think that's a critical change that we need to make in our industry, because the number of properties in a lot of these destinations, it doesn't change as dramatically as it used to. There's not a lot of new building on beachfront property.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so looking at the number of available room nights, that's when we start really focusing on things like shoulder seasons, midweek stays, fill in the calendar. And that's where growth, is really going to come from on a per destination basis. And so that requires destination marketing. Yeah. So I don't know how long it will take for them to put that together. But right now their thought is, well, if they're not going to Myrtle Beach, then they're going to Tybee, or they're going to Ocean Isle or whatever. And so instead they've got those properties too. Right. So they feel like they're not really losing anyway. Yeah. I don't know that that's true, but I think that right now all of their growth metrics are based on adding new properties, and they're not focusing yet on adding more room nights.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. And I think that also kind of dovetails over into consolidation within the tech space. So I sit on the tech side of the equation right now, and that's concerning to me, just watching competitive set be, snapped up by someone who wasn't in my competitive set before, but now all of a sudden they are. PMSs are coming on very strong. So what are you seeing, and what do you think the future of consolidation within technology is going to be?
I wish I believed that it was a positive thing for our industry. I think actually consolidation on the VRM side is actually more positive right now than on the tech side.
Yeah.
What we have not seen, and hesitate. I have a lot of sponsors and advertisers who are in this space, but what we have not seen, to be quite honest, is we have not seen a company become a better company under a consolidated umbrella. And I think that, innovation there does seem to be an impact to innovation when a company is taken over. There seems to be an impact to the team. You see people leave, you see projects stall, you see roadmaps not get a lot added. You see roadmaps introduced at user conferences that are never actually fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right.
They're kind of like dream roadmaps. Like, here's a wish list.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sunshine and rainbows. Yeah.
Exactly. A Rest Fest is a perfect example of this one. I mean, then when they came out with the whole V12, everything they were going to do after they sunset across the plus,
revenue management side,
6 months later, it's like,
V12's yanked. Yeah.
I think, looking at RealPage with Kigo and Insta Manager.
Yeah.
I forgot about the company now. North Star with Destametrics and Intopia.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a result of people coming in to the technology space that aren't from the VR space, that they just don't see the forest for the trees? It's just all about like, let's make it to be the leanest, meanest company, but they're not understanding what really it takes to make the leanest, meanest.
When we were at the Women's Summit, we had Margot and Jen and Margot from Hostfully.
Yeah,
both of them are incredible.
Amazing. I think I may be her biggest fan right now.
Yeah, I think I got a girl crush on her too. She's amazing.
Yeah. But when we were talking about this whole idea of how it, what the game is, like let's, and maybe that was actually the pre-call. We had dinner before that panel, and so they were telling me that it's a game. The whole thing's a game. These are manufactured liquidity events for people. So it's like when a private equity, like when GSV rolled up all these companies, then, they repackage it, recap, then it's in Habit IQ. Goldman Sachs comes in, picks up a share, someone else gets out. The idea is to keep kicking the can, to keep creating these liquidity events.
Right.
And so that people go in, they put money in, they add some stuff, and they, they go and buy a few more companies, and then they repackage it, sell it to someone else. They add a few more companies, and they sell it to someone else. So there's not really consistent leadership at the top. And the metrics are all about growth. Going back to Vacasa, same thing. The metrics are all about, growth and not innovation. Where when you start your own company, like when you're working for a privately held company, you really want, though most of those people started those companies because there was a need they wanted to fulfill in the industry.
Right.
Like they actually wanted to build software because they thought they were better at it, or they wanted to create a way for people to connect to the channels, in a much easier and better way so they could sell their properties, like what Lexicon did. I think that when they start getting rolled up, you lose that kind of same passion behind the company. But still, there's more to that. I don't know what happens, to be honest with you, but it's weird. I mean, it's hard not to see historically, and I'm not saying this is going to happen in Inhabit by any means, but like that private equity is where really great brands go to die.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's what we've seen. I'm not saying that it can't change. I don't totally understand it, except that when the whole goal is to get a check.
Yeah.
Like it changes things.
Well, and you lose sight of the game. You're not there for the betterment of the industry. You're just there for betterment of like stock prices or just the cash out. Yeah.
And so Margo and Jen, they were all talking about, that it is a game, and Kimberly at Inhabit. And it's like that, we need more women that know how to play the game. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the goal of the panel, is to try to empower women to just kind of understand what is a seed investment, what is a Series A, a Series B, what is the difference between private equity funding and VC funding, and what is the difference between a SPAC and an IPO? Because the idea is the more we understand about that, the more we can start leveraging those opportunities when they're appropriate. Yeah. But I think there's a difference in, that there's, and it's not even just a female thing. Like there are people who want to be in business, but who want what they do to matter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not just about getting a check down the road.
Yeah.
And I know that the people who want the checks down the road think that's dumb. And, and then they make us feel stupid for feeling like that.
Right.
Well,
right.
and that comes back to the destination side of it too. I mean, not only by the work that I do at Condo World, not only does it make me feel good to benefit my fellow employees here, but I know we work so closely with the destinations and the impact that we have as a company that works alongside each other. I mean, it's viral in the region that you're in. So it's very different when you're just looking for that end of the day payout. It's a completely different mindset.
I don't know that's not sustainable, because once they get their check, they're gone.
Right. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we've still got to be feeding the industry with people who actually want to do the work, who enjoy building the destinations, who enjoy delivering amazing vacations in private homes, who enjoy living in places that are sometimes hard to live in,
definitely. Yeah.
But I think that, to your point, like when you care about a city, well, my gosh, Andy, everything you did in Panama City Beach after the hurricane, like, when you care and you're invested, like you care about the fact that a restaurant can stay open, or that there's enough work or that a school can actually get support, and that their parents have jobs in the destination, and that the homeowner values are not dropping, in a major way. And I think that, I don't know, like you said, it's an entirely different mindset when you're invested in the destination.
Yeah. What do you, on that same question, but consolidation now in terms of vacation rental companies, not Vacasa aside, but consolidation of smaller companies, where do you see that going in the near future from what's happened in the last year or two?
I think that most of the people that I know, and I don't mean all, but a lot of the companies that have been around a while that we know as being some of the leaders, are going to sell. I just, that they feel like, and they've been told, that the opportunity is so big right now.
Right.
They're tired. And I asked, there were 2 property managers I had staying with me in Alabama one time. And I said, what would it take for you to sell? And this was actually right before one of them actually did. I didn't know that at the time, by the way.
Yeah. You got them thinking.
And they both said, like, it's when the destination turns on you.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, because that happened. That happened. And where the destination started saying, coming at people, for the property managers for COVID, for bringing people in, the regulations, for bringing too many people in, like, oh my gosh, you were too successful.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? The traffic's too high, whatever it is, that the property managers in these local destinations who have dedicated their lives to the destinations, when the city starts to hit back and make them feel guilty, like, then
that's a good time to sell. That's a great, I mean, it really is. Yeah. I mean, we're all battling that in each of our markets. And, where we are here in the Myrtle Beach area, we're very blessed at this moment that we've got great city and local representation that is working alongside us. But there are many destinations that are not as lucky as we are right now. And just going to VRMA and hearing about some of them, it's unbelievable. I mean, that is the perfect way to say it. I would sell when the destination turns against me, because why would you want to fight that uphill battle that, I mean, you're essentially, putting a plug on your entire business when it gets to that point.
It would not be a bad idea for us to actually reach out to, what is the DMAI? I can't remember, they've changed their name, but you know what I mean? Like the destination marketing.
Oh, yeah.
The, like the CVB association. Things like that, and really explain to them.
Yeah.
Right. And talk to them about the fact that, if you lose your vacation rental managers, you're losing your leaders.
You're losing your
like you might want to go work with them instead of against them right now.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I just got back from Destination International's advocacy summit in Houston about a month ago.
Yeah, how was that?
It was excellent. And I was the only one that was there I'm the incoming chairman of the board for the Myrtle Beach CVB. I was the only board member that was there. It was all just people that were at a CVB, and their comment was, oh, how interesting, like that you brought a board member to this, because I had never been to a conference like that before. And it was eye-opening, but I think it was equally eye-opening on their end when I told them that a lot of what they're talking about is the same thing that we're talking about at our industry trade associations. It's the advocacy side that is that is definitely the biggest threats to our industry right now. And we did have that conversation about this. This needs to be more of a mutually attacked issue, that it's not singular just to the destinations needing to work with city councils. It's everybody together. So I think that's definitely something for as we move into the future that is going to make a big difference for the industry to work together better.
And going back to that original point about, the that supply is the number of available room nights.
Yeah. Yep.
That growing the destination is the fastest way to get to that point. It's not about doing a better job on Airbnb, although I think Lexicon's great. I think it really is like the fastest way to grow your entire, to really impact is to do something amazing in the destination.
Yeah.
Like there are 52 weeks out of the year. If you fill an extra one, that's, my God. You're all, right. Exactly. It's a high percentage of your revenue.
Yeah.
And so it impact, and I think that knowledge has been, I'm not saying lost, but we're definitely losing that legacy knowledge of understanding how the economics work of growing a destination.
Yeah. And that's one thing on this podcast that Danny and I have talked about, and what we're planning for the future. We want to bring in more destination marketing experts and really dive into that. So it's going to be exciting to, get some different takes on it, because I think it's vitally important.
Yeah,
and it's not even that hard to do. You know what I mean? Like it's really, it's just about being intentional. But for any new companies, you were talking about how you build a brand right now. If it were me, I would sit at the CVB until they put me on the board.
Absolutely.
I would sit at the door. Because that's where you grow the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to do everything. Like you said, with intention, but it has to be at the ground level. Like you have to do it from the market level up. And I've seen it just along the Panhandle and all the different regulations that they're trying to pass with occupancy and saying to these homes that they have to have a certain number of parking spaces based on the occupancy of the home. Well, the home wasn't built with 20 parking spaces, but it was built to put 10 bedrooms. So how do you go back? You can't retroactively change some of these things, and there's ways to work around it, but you have to have that. And that goes back again to the Vacasa point. Like it has to be done at the grassroots level, on the ground level. And I think with the people at Rent Responsibly, like what they're doing to try to give
they're doing an amazing
markets
job.
The toolbox, the tools to be able to use to advocate on their behalf and in their own market. That's a really great, it's a great movement for the industry. But one of the things that I think is unique, or I say unique, it scares me, but it may be not unique to vacation rentals, but it seems to be very prevalent, is the number of people we're losing that are the passionate hospitality gene, as I say, driven individuals that have been here since, I've been in this since the late 90s, started out at hotels, but, quickly moved over to vacation rentals. And I'm passionate about this industry, but there's so many people coming in from the outside that are just, ROI, they're just numbers. And we're losing that passion and that color and that love that has made the industry what it is. And I'm concerned about where that goes. So you have any thoughts on that?
I think that going back to the consolidation piece of it, when your company gets bought, and so like the way it worked for me, and I've been through it twice, is that, they call a team meeting, you go and sit in and you're told, and whatever group that you're in, whether it's management or, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they're saying, we're selling the company and don't worry, it's going to be
nothing will change.
And oh, wait, no. It's going to be better than ever. And you're going to have all these opportunities with a new company. And so here's your new employee agreement. Just sign right here and everything just moves right on over. And it's like, you're just sitting there. If you don't sign, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stunned by the entire news if you didn't see it coming. And in a lot of cases, they don't. I mean, these deals are happening fast. Have you guys noticed that?
Oh gosh, yeah.
People are going to close like really quickly right now. And I guess that's the goal, right?
Yeah. But not to mention, people are being forced to sign agreements, and they never had an agreement before. It was like, I have a job, I do my job, I get paid for my job, I like my job. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, we want to make sure you're committed. You need to put it in writing. And by the way, if you ever decide that you're not happy, then you're out of luck, you
Yeah.
have to
Well, that's the
go.
thing. And in all the new employee agreements, they have non-competes.
Yeah. And that's
And
just insane.
I understand that some states, those are not enforceable, but a lot of the states that we're in are, including
Yeah.
mine. And so it's like, at the point you're looking at that employee agreement and you're thinking, okay, I can, if I sign this, I have a non-compete for anywhere from 12 to 3, for 12 months, 36 months.
Mhm.
And if I don't sign it, I don't have a job. And that is a scary thing to do. When HomeAway bought Instant Software, that's a decision that I made. I didn't want to work for HomeAway. I'd been a property manager. That was the last company on the planet that I wanted to work for.
Right.
And then they actually did. They actually proceeded to block me from taking a job that I really wanted.
Wow.
And so you're kind of locked out at that point. And that's why I think we're losing a lot of leadership. And
Yeah.
I think we're seeing people who have to be out for a little bit, whether or not they come back. I think we will see people come back, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that'd be a great article, I think, for an upcoming magazine edition. It's like, we're the Wild West. We all know that's what we're called, but it's like, we're the Wild West, but where have all the cowboys gone?
Really.
Literally starting
the
to fall
cowboys
off
got
the
their
horse.
check, and it's
Yeah.
Well, that's where the cowgirls come in.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
But I think that right now the message would be like that there are jobs.
Yeah.
There are a lot of jobs.
Definitely
And
jobs.
there are really good jobs in our industry
Yeah.
right now on tech and in property management world.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're trying to do in 2022 is a GM boot camp to try to train some people up and get them into those GM and COO roles in our industry. But I believe that if somebody's company got purchased and they're looking at an employee agreement and they're listening to the podcast right now, I would say don't sign it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work.
Yeah. Steve Trover said he's got just people looking for, and looking for good people. It's not just the hourly, they're looking for seasoned, professionals that have been in the industry and been around and understand what it takes.
I like that idea of a GM boot camp. And I think, in terms of the professionalization within our industry, I think that's where we can all stand to benefit is, the standards that we have at Condo World for our units are obviously they're wonderful. We've been in business 36 years. A lot of these legacy companies operate the same way, but what are some of the more professional ways of doing things that the hotel industry has done well, not even on the guest facing front side, but on the back of the house side. So, I mean, the true, the GM duties and how things are organized and how departments report to each other and internal leadership opportunities. We just had a call yesterday with Allie Calametti, and she was talking about what she does with teams. And, I think there's more of an interest now within the PM space that we do want to professionalize more, and we do want to up our game just within our own companies. So that would be interesting to do a GM boot camp. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think to where we are right now, and it still kills me that everyone says that now's the time to sell, but for some reason they all believe that it is. I guess they heard VRM presentations in October that they should start coming right now. But I think you've got the property managers who, are looking for their exit. And then you've got the property managers who actually really love this business.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, if you have to look at the bright side of all of this, is that even though we're losing all this leadership in the destination, those people are getting what they want and they're getting out.
Yeah.
And it's that will leave companies who actually want to do this for an occupation. Mm-hmm. And I think once we get people not people who are counting the days until they close their sale of their business, but people who are like, wow, this is a cool industry and I want to be in it, Yeah. I think once that, the more we get of that, the more of these opportunities we'll have to actually get better, as an industry, get better at operations, better at financial management, better at marketing, better at direct bookings, better at customer service, you know what I mean? And better at destination marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once we get people who start who feel like we do, it's just this is the coolest industry to be a part of on the planet. Why would you do anything?
Right. Yeah. We all know it. Why don't you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it is. Oh my gosh. I mean, these are family vacations. It's not the same thing as a hotel.
Yeah.
But most of us our most cherished vacation memories are in a vacation home.
Absolutely. Yep.
Your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, it's an entirely different product and it means something. And it's when you look back at your life, these things matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Like your experiences in these homes and everyone else's do. So like the impact of what, like I wrote this book called The Power of Vacation. It's just like quotes.
Yeah,
It's like 365 quotes about why it's important. But I mean, vacations genuinely save lives.
Yeah.
And the connection, like what vacation rentals offer are connected vacations. They're not just going to a hotel and sitting, you know, and doing a lot of activities.
Yeah.
They're actually places where you connect with each other.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly meaningful. And I think it's even more meaningful as we go forward, you know, with as broken as families are, as disconnected as people are. I mean, to have that physical connection in a place that is dedicated to leisure, it matters. And I do think it's the coolest industry on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely agree on that for sure. One other issue, or not issue, I guess, just hot button item within the industry right now. When we were at VRMA International a couple months ago, we found out that they're starting to allow individual owners now to join in these events and join the association. What do you think about that? And what do you think the impact of that will be on the professionally managed side of vacation rentals?
I mean, I think it was pretty clear the VRMA was having a hard time, you know, growing its membership among professional property management companies. I think consolidation has hurt them too. And that, you know, when someone sells, and Vacasa is already a member, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's a
We
member.
lost a lot of membership dues right
Yeah,
there.
sure.
Exactly. And so I think they had to find a way to grow quickly. And this may have been the only choice they had. And so I don't want to criticize it if that's what they had to do to keep the association going.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't personally agree.
Mhm.
I think that there was a lot of opportunity to grow the association on the PM side, and I think there were opportunities there that maybe were missed. But the problem I see, the difference between a professionally managed property and an owner managed property, there are like three core things. One, which is that 24/7 emergency contact.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I go and I stay with a property manager, if I stay with you, Alex, you know, with Condo World, I know that if something happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's someone that's going to answer the phone.
Right. Yeah.
There's going to be, you know, and a problem will be addressed. I mean, and if I stay with an owner managed property, you know, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is if something goes wrong with my property, a professional property manager will move me. They will either move me to another property in their inventory, or they'll go rent something else for me to stay in.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave me hanging in a destination.
Yeah.
An owner doesn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a financial management component. Number 3 is that, you know that when I pay, that I've got a company backing that money.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And an owner doesn't have that same obligation to you.
Yeah.
You can fight it through your booking channel or whatever, but you know, you don't have a lot of recourse. If I get to Myrtle Beach and realize that property's double booked or
Yeah.
had a flood in the basement, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's no there's not a compensation point. It could take a really long time to fight it.
Yeah.
And I just think that as a vacationer, those things matter. And so like the VRMA is was our only association for professional property managers.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you take that and you dilute it and those 3 things no longer matter, like that's really frustrating to me, because I think as a guest, those things matter.
Yeah.
And I do think that guests are better off booking through a professional property manager. I just do.
Yeah.
Just for those 3 reasons alone. It's just more security and less risk.
Well,
And you know, to those, no matter what VRMA decides to do, although I don't think they have any real intention of providing additional education or additional certification or additional, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there is a lot of effort going into actually educating homeowners past thinking that whatever education is already being offered would be good for a homeowner here. But I actually, when we looked at it, I'm sure you guys have looked at it too, you know, it's not the same education.
Right.
Like the actual process of delivering a vacation home as a property manager is a different process than delivering it as a homeowner.
Yeah.
And I don't think that education dovetails as well as they think that it does on the surface. I really just feel like they were at a point that they had to grow membership and they just had to do it quickly. And this is the decision they made together.
Yeah. I think only time will tell on what impact this has on the industry, but I think it is, it is definitely the responsibility of all of us as property managers to promote what you just said,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
As a
agree.
professional manager, the benefits of renting through Condo World are those three things, that you're going to have the security that if from a payment perspective, from a service perspective, if there's anything wrong, we can move you to a different unit, everything there. So if you're renting, as Roy used to always say, from a homeowner in Chillicothe, Ohio, that's lives up there, they're not going to be able to come down to North Myrtle Beach and help you. And you're
Right. I mean, if you
not
execute,
working.
you can keep on going. I mean, your relationships with vendors are tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have plumbers that are on call. A homeowner, typically they just don't do enough business to have that
Right.
buying power.
And
Same
these,
thing with swimming pools and hot tubs and air conditioner and
And I think a really good example of that is something that happened actually in Gulf Shores a couple of years ago. A house had burned and family they didn't have anybody, they rented from an owner and they didn't have anywhere to go. And the owner was like, again, up in Ohio, like somewhere that they couldn't get to it. And I believe that I don't know if it ever passed, but they were trying to pass an ordinance where a homeowner, if they put a unit out there for rent, like they had to be able to get somebody to that unit within like 24 hours or something. Cause this family was literally just homeless. Like they drove from Missouri and were homeless and nobody could get a hold of the owner. And, they took their money, they got the rental and God knows what could happen. So yeah, that's a very valid point.
I'm really glad you brought that up because that was another thing that, is concerning about the VRMA adding the homeowners is that one of the things that they said it was for advocacy.
yeah,
That they could increase the number of people advocating for vacation rentals within the destination by adding homeowners and get that more organized. It's just the difference between what homeowners want with the city council and what PMs want is just they're very different.
Sure.
To your point, like, a PM would love to have a 24/7 requirement.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And the homeowner doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And I think that when they go and approach the city council, it's like they're going to find out pretty quickly that the homeowners are not aligned with the property managers and being like, and if they can't agree of how to even approach the city council, then it's going to slow down that process. And, and I don't think it will be helpful in the regulation front either.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we could talk about this for days on end, Amy. It's talking with you is always such a great. It's always wonderful because you've got so much knowledge and so many touch points within the industry. So hopefully you will do us the service and come back again in the future, and we can talk about maybe where 2023 goes.
Yeah, we definitely want to know what events are happening next year. I think we could do a whole podcast just on the events that are going to be coming up. So
I will say we are going to do DARM again. We know that the Data and Revenue Management Conference, and looks like we're doing that in Nashville in August.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect. We love Nashville. Mm-hmm. Well, Amy, thanks again for joining us. We really, really appreciate you and appreciate everything that you've done for the industry. And the Crusader Award that you won was so beyond well-deserved and a long time coming. And what you do with VRM Intel and how you advocate for every aspect of the industry and you tell the hard truths. And sometimes people don't like them and sometimes they do, so it's great. And I applaud you for everything that you do and would just appreciate you coming on our show to help us out.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, but also congratulations, you two, for doing this. I think it's an amazing endeavor podcast, and I'm so proud of you for you both. I've watched your careers grow over the years. It's been super fun to watch, and it's going to be more fun to watch where you go from here. So thank you.
Thank you.
For me early.
We appreciate that, and just to echo Annie's thoughts. I mean, I think the education that you've brought to the industry within the last 5 years, I've seen the industry grow so much, and that we would be mistaken to not credit how much of that is because of you. So thank you for everything that you do for the industry and for all of us. I mean, you've helped all of us grow our own businesses and grow as business leaders. So we appreciate you and all that you've brought. What's the best way for people to contact you if they want to get in touch?
Oh yeah. I mean, the website is vrmintel.com and there's plenty of places to contact me there, but it's just amy.hinote@vrmintel.com. I'm pretty easy to reach.
Okay, great. We'll put that in your LinkedIn and our show notes. And if anybody wants to contact Annie and I, best way is alexandanniepodcast.com. And you can contact us right from there or connect with our social media handles. So Amy, thank you so much and wishing you very happy holidays, and we will see you soon.
All right,
thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everybody.